Today we'll be talking about 3 things you should always have in mind when shooting your films. And one of them happens to be one of the most frequent mistakes I've seen in amateur short films. Hi everyone, welcome back to Symon Says TV. My name is Symon, as you know by now, and this is episode number 6 of How to Become a Film Director. And yesterday we'll be talking about things you should always have in mind when shooting your film. And I'm talking about things that are visual in your movie. I mean, things that we will see in the screen or on the computer while watching your film. So are there rules? Yes, I think we can call them rules. Do we have to respect them all the time? Well, some say that rules are meant to be broken, and I'm a strong believer of that. But if you break rules, I think you should know that you're doing it, and you should do it for a specific purpose. Otherwise, if you do it on any kind of situation or all the time, you will look like a director that doesn't know what he's doing. So if you do break a rule, do it for a specific reason. It could be to create a dramatic effect, create an artistic effect, or whatever, but do it and assume it. Okay? So rule number 1, it is called the rule of thirds. You might have heard of it before. It's what happens when you draw 2 vertical lines and 2 horizontal lines on your screen to have 9 equal squares on your screen. Or if you go into your menu setting of your camera, you go into the grid section and you will have that option that will put those 4 lines, 2 vertical, 2 horizontal, and you will have a grid in your screen. What is it all about? That grid is to help you compose the image of your screen. And I think the one that is the most important is the horizontal line on top. This is the line that most of the time the eye line of your actor should be, to be more pleasing. I didn't say it necessarily needs to be there, but it's the best place to put the eye line of an actor. And if you're shooting, let's say, 2 actors talking to each other, over the shoulder on one side and the reverse shot, where the upper horizontal lines crosses the vertical lines on left and on right, those are the places that you should put the eyes of your actor when they're talking to the other actor. So when you go and in your editing room, and when you put it all together, when you watch a discussion, you have the two actors that are facing and watching exactly the same horizontal lines. They're watching each other, and they're placed in the most static place in the frame. Martin Scorsese once asked himself, how do we frame a close-up shot, a very, very tight close-up shot on a wide screen? Because at first they used to have 4:3 aspect ratio, which was a television aspect ratio back then. And when you were shooting a close-up shot of an actor, it was, well, the best ratio to frame a face, because it was about the same aspect ratio as the shape of a face. But when they went into wider screen, there was a lot of space left, either on both sides or on one side of the subject. So that's where the rule of thirds came into play, and when you have to apply that. So if I'm on one side of the screen and my eyes, the eyes that is lit is exactly on the upper cross here, what do we do with the rest here? Well, we fill it up, we dress it up. That's where we place the lamp or anything else. It doesn't have to be in focus, could be blurred, could be whatever, but that is part of the composition of your screen. And you can also frame something very, very centered, very middle. Stanley Kubrick used to do that quite a lot, but you should know, if you do that, that it creates a very, very strong effect, because it draws all the attention to the middle of the screen. So if you do that, know that you're doing it, and make sure if you make a centered shot that it is really centered, really in the middle. Otherwise, it would again look like you were out of control. The director didn't know he was doing it, or did it without any purpose, and he was a little bit off on either one side or the other. So rule number 2, it is called continuity. It's an easier one, easier to explain, easier to understand, and but still, again, you have to be careful to avoid being out of continuity. What is continuity? Some of you might know it. If you've never shot a film, you probably don't know what it is, but it will come easy for you to understand. Continuity has to do when you go into the editing room. When you go to one shot, one framing to the other, to a reverse shot, you have to have in mind that your actors, if you see 2 actors in the shot, you're shooting an actor talking and you see the back of the other one, both actors should be looking and be positioned in the same way as it was in the shot previous if you go into the reverse shot, to make sure that your scene is in continuity and the audience look at it like if it was happening for real from one side to the next shot with 2 cameras. So continuity has to do when you see a lot of things in the screen. It could be it could apply also to what's in the bottle of iced tea or a glass of wine or whatever. It has to be at the same level from take to take. So sometimes you have to fill it up from at each take. Finally, if the actor takes a zip once or twice during the scene. So a good way to prevent or to make sure to prevent non-continuity, or to make sure that you have it, is to take what I do. I used to take at least 4 to 5 takes of each shot to make sure that because usually the actors tend to do the same after take number 3. They get into a mold, and most of the time take number 4 is very similar and take number 5 is exactly the same, because it becomes an habit for the actor to and if you work with professional actors, it's most of the time they exactly know what it's all about, and they are careful about that. But still, it's good to have I'd say 4 to 5 shots and a lot of coverage, a lot of value, a lot of wide shot, medium shot, and that may save you. And insert shots. If I take the bottle of iced tea, to have a close-up shot of that, my hands getting in the frame, lifting the bottle, or pick up the phone, or whatever action that is done during a scene, have a lot of coverage of that. It might be the only place sometimes that you can, by going to the insert, you can move to the reverse shot, because the 2 actors that you have are so out of continuity that might be the only place where you can sometimes go to the reverse shot. Okay, now the third one and the last one, rule number 3. That rule is the most important one, and it's the one a lot of you out there know about that rule, but still a lot of you keep on making that mistake. For those who doesn't know what it is, I'm going to tell you. It's the rule, 180-degree rule. The 180-degree rule is what happens when you have a scene between 2 characters. This is a character. I'm talking to him, okay? You draw a line between our 2 heads that goes to infinity on each side. And you decide from the very beginning, before shooting the first frame, on which side you're going to place the camera. Whether it's on that side or whether it's on the other side of that line, because there's an imaginary line here, and you don't have the right, under no circumstances, to cross a line without creating something awkward. It might seem very simple, but let me tell you, it's a mistake I've seen in almost every amateur or student films that I've been part of, and I'm talking about 40 to 50 different productions. I've seen that, and I keep on seeing that on many films on YouTube or Vimeo or everywhere, and sometimes I see that in very well made short films. You look at those short films, you say, wow, they've created an environment. You really think it's a sci-fi film. You really believe that you're on some other planet, and the costume and everything is perfect. And then at one moment, bang, they cross the X. Bang, they do it again, and bang for a third time. It makes the entire movie amateur, unprofessional. It's like if the director wasn't in control of what he was doing. You don't see that in professional movies unless it's made for a very specific purpose, and yet still I rarely see it. There's one movie in which I've seen it 3 times, not one, 3 times, and it's The Insider from Michael Mann. We see that at the beginning when Al Pacino is it's an interrogation scene, and at one moment, bang, camera goes on the other side. But I think it's to reveal something, to reveal that there's nobody, that they all left, I think, or that there's some. I don't remember what it was exactly, but of course, it was Michael Mann knew what he was doing. He did that to confuse us all, or to reveal something for sure. At some other moment, you have Russell Crowe talking to Al Pacino in a Chinese restaurant. All the scene is shot on one side, and at one moment, bang, you have a shot exactly in the middle on the opposite side, and suddenly they switch sides. And that shot has been made, I'm sure, to reveal us that there's a wall behind on that side, and nobody has been witnessing that conversation. I'm quite sure that was the purpose of doing that. And the third time, which is to me, it's a masterpiece of shot. That one is very well made, and to me, it's the only way to make it without creating a very awkward, bizarre, out of control moment from the director. And it's by traveling behind the actor. All the scene is shot that way. At one moment, as a matter of fact, it's that side. Okay, all the scene is shot that side. And you have Russell Crowe, which is being also in an interrogation room, and they're putting pressure on him not to speak. And the head of the tobacco company is in front of him, and he's putting a lot of pressure. And at one moment, the camera, which is there, travels on a dolly shot behind the boss here to reveal that there are 1 or 2 bodyguards, big men, watching, listening to the conversation behind. And if he doesn't sign, he's in big trouble, because those guys that we just happens to discover at the end of the scene, well, you don't want to mess with them. So that one is a very well made. Other than that, everything has to be shot on the same side, even the inserts. We saw that when we see that mistake. Most of the time it's made in smaller shots, not in wide shots, but in tighter shots, in close-up shots, or in inserts. Sometimes all the scene is shot that way, but the inserts are done at the end. And let's say that I'm taking a sip of a poison drink at one moment, and everything, all the actors are gone. The director comes just beside me, and he wants to see what's in the bottle. Let's say that there's no label here, and he take a big close-up shot of me drinking that poison here, because on the other side, first my hand is hiding, second because my desk is there, so the only place to come is here. So he shoots me drinking that poison, and when you come to the editing room, bang, at the only moment I'm drinking that poison, the image is reversed and nothing works, and it creates an awkward moment. So remember that. Don't cross the 180-degree rule, and remember that all the time. So go out, make your first short films, and forget about all what I said. And when you will see those mistakes or those things, you will say, oh yeah, I've heard of it. Oh yeah, that's what he was talking about. So go out there and have fun. Become a film director. Send me your link. I want to see your films. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you. See you next time.